Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Ambrose Blowford here from the Sales Mastery Company, and today's 50-minute training is on digital marketing, friend or foe. Many years ago, with both Paul Avens in the UK and Mike Clark in Australia and New Zealand, we went through this endless debate over which is more important, sales versus marketing. And still to this day, many years later, people still give me feedback of all the keynotes I've ever seen. That battle on stage that you guys did, whether it was UK or in Australasia, it really resonated with me because I believe there's been a lot of tension between sales and marketing over many, many decades. So if we break it down and you've accessed the workbook already, if not, send us an email to admin@salesmasterycompany.com. Ask for the workbook associated with this particular free training, digital marketing, friend or foe, to make the most of today. Inside front cover, there's a quick insight from myself as to what we do and where our specialties have lied for the last 18 years or more, coaching and training people in over 20 different countries around the world. But let's just bring it back to the basics. Firstly, when digital marketing kicked in close to 20 years ago, I remember many people saying, you know what, that'll be the death of salespeople. I can also remember as we've accelerated the number of different social media platforms, knowing that, of course, most salespeople in this part of the world, in Australia and New Zealand, spend more time on LinkedIn. Obviously, Northern Hemisphere for certain markets, it might be Instagram or Facebook. North America, very popular in the Twitter world. But ultimately, LinkedIn is more in the B2B market, which is where most of our customers lie at the Sales Mastery Company. But even with more platforms coming in, such as TikTok and other things, platforms come and go, but people don't. People still need salespeople. In fact, we've trained people. In fact, you might be able to see there's a purple and white book behind me. My wife and I were published in the UK in 2017 on a book from the Authority Guide series on the Authority Guide to Writing and Implementing Marketing Plan. I've taught marketing and branding and digital marketing around the world, just like I've taught sales. And only about a few years ago, about 2017, we made a decision to specialize more in sales training than in marketing. And the reason for that is I do not think the salespeople are dead. I do not think that it's the end of salespeople. It is the smart ones that embrace the technologies available to them that are relevant to their customers. I want to stress that word again. Not just because it's a passive hobby that you've got, but if it's relevant to your customer, this can be an added opportunity for a salesperson to step a little bit more into that marketing world, as opposed to marketing to step in and oust a salesperson from their job. So let's understand traditionally the way people used to view marketing versus sales is marketing in warfare was like the bombers who'd soften up the ground ahead of the infantry, and the sales team of the infantry that come in and kind of shoot and do the kill. The resentment that led to in marketing is we're the ones that did brand positioning. We're the ones that softened up the ground, but you're the ones who close, ring the bell, ring the gong, get the bonuses. How come it's not on us? Why don't we get a praise? Because marketing is less measurable than sales down to the finite number. Obviously, with great software like Pardot or HubSpot or Marketo, you can track people's journeys and you can measure it far more in depth right now. But traditionally, marketers resented salespeople at the same time. And I remember in the early start of my career, working for the global giant Procter & Gamble, to whom I will be forever grateful for the infinite amount of wisdom and training they gave me around psychology and leadership, and certainly around sales relationships. One of the things that used to resent in there, and every company I've worked on since, and pretty much every company I've ever coached with, the larger the company, the more change there is between sales and marketing. Salespeople often say, well, they're up there in their ivory towers, dreaming up a whole bunch of random schemes that may or may not work. They don't get down in the trenches with us, again, warfare analogy, and actually get themselves dirty and talk to real customers. So golden rule, if you're sitting there watching this as a marketer, get in the trenches. You'll earn great kudos from the salespeople, and you'll speak to the real customers that we're in business to serve. Salespeople respect marketers. They do some clever stuff. Yes, some of it doesn't work, but most of it does work. The challenge for most marketers is they don't spend enough time measuring and analyzing which bit works, and then they repeat all of it next year. But that's for another story, and that's for another day. Let's look at a couple of critical things. Now, most of this research is Northern Hemisphere biased. I will give context around that. But Accenture, global giant, used to be Anderson Consulting, found that 94% of B2B buyers, which is what our customers sell to, B2B buyers, do some form of online research, whether that is checking an industry forum, connecting with someone on LinkedIn, asking a question through their Twitter feed, or whatever it's going to be. 94% of them are making some form of engagement in the digital space. So for a salesperson to not embrace it, I'm sorry, it's negligent. You've got to embrace that in some way, shape, or form. And 55% of them commit time to online research for at least half of their purchases. So it's not just that they all do this a little bit, it's that half of them are doing this for a lot of the time. Very important. Next up, we may be in a situation where no longer are we doing that traditional handover of the marketers deal with everything right up to the point of inquiry, hand over the full responsibility to the salespeople. We're now living in a world where a salesperson, particularly B2B salesperson, the negotiation phase, the fact-finding stage, the consideration could be a long period. Days, weeks, months, sometimes years, but often weeks. During that period, a smart salesperson should be leveraging the amazing content, articles, and resources put together by a proactive marketing team to deepen the trust with the relationship, to deepen their understanding about the customer, to actually understand from our marketers which newspaper articles or which newsletter articles have they read, which blogs have they spent time on, which videos did they watch, and how long did they watch for. Nowadays, marketers can provide salespeople with way more insights about the individual, about their behaviors, about what they've interacted with prior to this moment. At the same time, salespeople can lean into marketing and leverage off the additional content that they've got. And at the very least, people, if you've got a LinkedIn profile and your customer or potential customer's got a LinkedIn profile, at the very least, in a drawn-out sales process, ask to connect on LinkedIn. If they don't accept your connection on LinkedIn off the back of an inquiry or you reaching out to them and scoping a job, they probably don't want to work with you. They're certainly not going to run a mile from you because you asked them to connect on LinkedIn. So embrace this. Don't fear this. Next up, we're moving into a social selling field. Now, this is something that has been spoken about for 4 or 5 years, and I believe most salespeople have heard of it by now, but they don't necessarily do it. The whole point here is we're trying to move more salespeople away from the straight up present solutions based on the customer inquiry, negotiate to get a terms of the deal arranged, into more reading the customer, connect to the customer, understand the trends, understand the market that this customer is from, understand what the needs are of that marketplace. Again, that wisdom was often held in marketers who never got to talk to customers, and salespeople only dealt with the customer in front of them. Well, now people in sales, you can embrace this, you can access this. Again, let's be clear. I don't want you to use your LinkedIn profile to talk endlessly about yourself, about your solutions, about the customers you've worked with before. I want you to use it to listen, to learn, to understand, to get insights into particular customers or types of customers or types of markets, to get a feel on the world and what people are saying right now. Use it on the same principle that when you're selling to somebody face to face, we should be doing way more listening than we do talking. The same applies to social media. We've got to be clear around this. Now, the 90% rule of executives not responding to cold calls is, again, Northern Hemisphere based. I know a lot of people in this part of the world who come to us for training in prospecting and cold calling, as we refer to it, rather than cold calling. And guess what? It works. The reason why they get trained on it is they want to be better at it and more confident at it and have a process for it so they can do it methodically week in, week out. That said, those executives is often North American language, talking about high-end buyers for large corporates. A lot of our medium-sized customers serve medium-sized customers, so they're way more reachable in both Australia and New Zealand. So a slight regional difference there. At the same time, and I love this, nearly 3/4 of salespeople who engage in some form of social media professionally as part of their job outsell their colleagues. I don't need to convince you for my sake. I need to convince you for your sake, because there's a 3/4 chance that if you're smart and professional, or whether the platform is Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn for you, given that those are the main big three, particularly LinkedIn in this part of the world, typically you're going to outsell your colleagues by listening, by learning, and starting to read what's going on. So you're using the right sort of language, asking the right sort of questions, and answering the right sort of questions that are out there. Very, very important to do that. At the same time, you've just got to be where your customers are. I cannot stress that enough. When we were training a lot of people in marketing strategies and marketing plans and marketing budgets many years ago, not that we don't do it nowadays, it's just only maybe 1 or 2% of what we spend our time doing these days. Enjoy it, but it's not my passion as much. The key aspect of that is be where your customers are. Don't go and follow TikTok if your customers aren't a bunch of teenagers, or don't go all over Facebook, which in this part of the world, very popular amongst women aged 30 to 50, for example, maybe even 60. But the fact remains is that's a target market. If that's not your target market, you don't need to be where they are. That's the difference between a hobby. I've got to say, it infuriates me when I see people operating as salespeople in LinkedIn, commenting on things that are not relevant to them, their life, their family, their community. It's a waste of your time. So you've got to shape up on this and get really clear. We're all in business to serve others. The more you're clear on the persona of those you serve, or the avatar of those you serve, or the target customer profile of or who you serve, which ultimately are interchangeable language for exactly the same thing, who you serve. And yes, you're right, you can have 3 target markets, absolutely fine, but you don't have 33 target markets. Otherwise, you'll be the jack of all trades and the master of none. You'll have no brand reputation and no personal reputation or brand that people will trust. The fact remains is be where your customers are. Most of my customers sell B2B. Most of them are in Australasia, some in North America, some in Europe and the UK. Most of my customers are on LinkedIn platforms, so I'm mostly on the LinkedIn platform. And this is probably being watched by you on LinkedIn, if not on YouTube. So the fact remains is that's where my customers are. That's why I've engaged with you. Know where your customers are. Know when they interact with LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest or whatever platform is relevant to them, and try to be present when they are present. Very important. Other things that are worth keeping in mind is our job is to serve those customers. So like I said before, if a salesperson embraces digital marketing, this can be an amazing edge they have versus their colleagues, and certainly versus their opposition, because they can listen and learn and find out what's going on in that marketplace. At the same time, they can start to spot trends ahead of others, spot language ahead of others, and embrace the changes that are happening in the marketplace. As most of us know, change is good for those that adapt quicker than others. Change is terrible for those people who are pig-headed or closed-minded, or what Carol Dweck refers to as those with a non-growth mindset who have a fixed mindset. This is a time for us to embrace other forms of communication. And at the same time, as I said before, at the very simple basis, if there's someone you're prospecting to, why not send them something intelligent in the comments to connect to them on LinkedIn as a way to leverage from it? At the same time, why not buddy up with your marketing team who might have HubSpot set up, who can tell you what articles and blogs people have clicked on, what pages they've visited, what inquiries they've made, what nearly ordering pages they got to in your website. This is priceless information. We should get to a situation where a sales team can become more than just the inventory of old, and a marketing team could become more than just the old bombers of old. This, of course, is a topic that we talk endlessly with clients who work with one-on-one around the world. Also topics that we cover off with people who are part of our Sales Mastery Academy. If you've got the workbook, you just one click can book in for a free 15-minute phone call with one of our founders. We can ask you a few questions of where are you now, where are you going as a business, and what are your key roadblocks? And we will absolutely give you free advice on that first phone call. If you progress from that phone call, you'll likely qualify for a 45-minute session with myself, where again, I'll review your sales strategy, what you're trying to overcome, and I will give you free advice. Those first 2 steps tend to be free advice because we want to see businesses taking action, not just from today's topic, but from any topic in their B2B sales strategy. If we've got solutions for you, believe me, we'll tell you what the solutions are. And if we don't, believe me, we'll tell you we don't have the solution for you. At the end of the day, we want businesses to take action. We want them to grow. We want them to embrace the many, many tools that are out there. To master sales, I keep getting asked from people, given that we're called the Sales Mastery Company, you know, what do I need to do to master sales? Well, to me, a little bit of everything, or 50 to 100 different things that if you were to make 5% improvements would lead to exponential growth in your sales results. So I'd love you to share this video with those around you. I'd like you to be embracing of new technology, not to fear it as a foe. It is there as a friend. And likewise, I want you to get more alignment between your sales and marketing team, because the greater alignment internally, the greater the alignment of our brand and brand positioning externally. I've been Ambrose Blowfield. We're the Sales Mastery Company. And as always, take action. Hello there, Ambrose here again to say thank you for watching this video. As always, I want to implore you to take action and to share the lessons you've learned. Meanwhile, something you could do to help us in our mission to help countless and thousands of small to medium family businesses the world over to be more prosperous, be more confident, and have a greater impact in the causes they support. And that is, of course, comment, like, and subscribe to this YouTube channel and to all of our other videos. And as always, be generous and share this with others. Take action today.